We begin this afternoon with the reading of the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo echzar v'lo deshi arbitzeni, Omei b'luchot yinahaleni, Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'magalei tzedek l'man shemo, Gam ki alech b'geitz al mavet, Lo irara ki ata imadi, Shivtecha amishantecha hema yenachamuni, Ta'aroch lefanai shochan neged soderai, Dishanta b'Hashem en roshi kosir haya, Ach tov ha'chesed yirgafuni, Kol yemei chaya, V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of His glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely mercy and goodness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. Today we have gathered for the sad task of remembering a beloved woman, a dear friend, Lila Shulak. She was blessed to know the sweet love of an appreciative and supportive husband, 3 devoted children, and 4 precious grandchildren. Lila had all that, and she knew how blessed she was, and took great joy in living her life to the fullest. She was born 84 years ago in Detroit to her parents Grace and Isaac, who lavished upon her all of their love. It was a good upbringing she enjoyed with her sister Francine of blessed memory. Detroit in those days was a robust, bustling city, and it was a fun place to grow up. Lila was a beautiful girl and had no trouble getting the attention of boys, who were attracted not only to her good looks, but her outgoing and fun personality. On one occasion, Lila and her girlfriend decided to go to the beach, and the girlfriend called the boyfriend to come along too. And he brought along a handsome young fella named Norman. So all the boys took the girls to Sandy Beach, and that's how Norman and Lila met. It was a fluke. That's how these things happen, isn't it? How did they really meet? Well, it was in the car driving down, which was so small and so crowded, and poor Lila had to sit on Norman's lap, and they had just met. Norman joked over the years that when he saw those long legs, he decided right then and there she was for him. After dating a year, they were engaged and soon standing under the chuppah. They were married in Detroit on Valentine's Day. Lila and Norman shared a love for the ages, and for more than 60 years they were a beautiful couple together. In Detroit, Nancy and Laurie were born, and after 7 years the family moved to Toledo. But Norman was seeking greater opportunities than he could find there. There was a housing boom in the South, and he decided to be part of it. He went on a road tour of southern cities, looking for the one that had the most promising business opportunity for a newcomer like him. And that city turned out to be Houston, Texas. Then in 1962, just a fraction of the city it would eventually become. Lila and Norma established a new life for themselves here in the Bayou City. He enjoyed great success, built a wonderful business for himself and his family. And it was here in Houston that Michael was born. And now the family was complete. Lila and Norman loved going out together, sometimes to movies, sometimes just for a nice dinner out. They traveled widely to Europe, Las Vegas, New York, Miami, Paris, London. And truth be told, the odds of Norman and Lila going to a specific destination was directly correlated to whether that city had a good deli. Passion that Norman possessed and nursed to the very end of his life with a vengeance. Lila and Norman enjoyed time together in the kitchen, with Lila whipping up her delicious foods and Norman serving as the kind of sous chef, sitting on his stool helping with the peeling and chopping. Lila always watched out for Norman, who with the passing years developed numerous health issues. She always made sure he went to his doctors regularly, that he took all his medications. She wasn't a nurse by training, but by experience. She knew everything there was to know about anything her Norman had. When Norman's hearing was seriously impacted by some of his treatments, Lila went all over town looking for a hearing aid that would work just right for him, that would enable Norman to hear and participate more fully in family conversations. Lila's children shared with me a kind of funny example of how much Norman explicitly trusted Lila involving his hearing. At one recent Yom Kippur service, when I asked everyone who had been in the hospital during the preceding year to please stand, she jostled Norman to stand up. When the prayer was finished, she jostled him to sit down. He got up and he sat down, and then he turned to her and said, "Why was I standing?" He hadn't heard anything I had said, but if Lila said to stand and sit in front of the entire congregation on Yom Kippur, he did. Lila was born, it sometimes seemed, to be a caregiver. She spent years caring for her mother, taking her mother to get her hair done, going to the store to make sure she had her nice clothes. Lila added months, if not years, to her mother's life. And that same sense of duty and love was then shared with Norman. Lila, of course, had a close and personal relationship with each of her children, with Lori, Nancy, and Michael. Their mother took special pleasure in having the whole family always eat Friday night dinners together. Those 8-course meals were enjoyed by everyone and were wonderful opportunities for the family to come together and catch up with everything happening. And when John and Billy joined the family, they became integral and inseparable parts of the family and all the family gatherings as well. Lila was an attentive mother who supported her kids and loved them all. And when they in turn gave her grandchildren, she was thrilled. As one of her kids said to me yesterday, if it was possible for Lila to have loved anything more than her kids, it was her grandkids, Alice and Brian, Jeffrey and Julie. She was there for everything in their lives. We went to all their recitals, school plays, Little League games. She loved even going trick-or-treating with them on Halloween. She was like a kid that night as well, eager to empty all the candy bags to see what treats awaited them all. Lila enjoyed teaching her children and grandchildren how to cook and enjoyed spending time over the years with one or more of them standing alongside her as she put together one of her many fanciful concoctions. Every child and grandchild got to have his or her special birthday dinner, in which Lila prepared all their special foods. Everyone loved her lemon cakes and chocolate pies and chocolate mousse, her French toast, and so much more. She always had hints to share on how to punch up a recipe or change it just a little bit to make it that much better. After a while, having the recipe was meaningless if you didn't also have Lila's important contributions and changes. They were the stuff of love that made all the difference in a good dish or dessert becoming a great one. Having taken cake decoration classes, Lila's abilities got the attention of Tony's, who asked her if she would make cakes and other desserts for him. Other people began asking if they could buy cakes directly from her. There was actually a time when she thought about starting her own business called Lila's Favorites. But growing a business out of her kitchen at home was just too much for poor Norman. Every time he'd walk into the kitchen, it would be filled with cakes and pans and pots and all the different stuff. It was just too much. She continued to bake cakes for families and friends on every special occasion of their lives. But she did it for love, not for money. Lila was a woman with boundless energy. She played tennis for years and worked out on a treadmill long before exercising at home became fashionable. She was healthy and health conscious all her life. Her children would come over and be shocked by what they saw. Even as she advanced in age, she'd move the refrigerator in and out several times a year to clean under it and behind it and around it. She would take off the walls by herself, these heavy photos, and then push them back onto the hooks. She always seemed so strong, tireless, ready to move on to the next task. Undoubtedly, because of the way she took such good care of herself, she never looked her age. Even in her later years, nobody could believe she was in her 80s. She had truly aged gracefully in every way and was so proud of it. She was constantly on the phone, talking with her large circle of friends, including several with whom she played mahjong for many years. She and Norman would ride their bicycles together. Lila took classes in psychology and personal interrelationships, enjoyed studying women's issues. She had many friends at Ashel House, and she enjoyed learning and being with people she found there that were so interesting. She enjoyed a good round of lively political debate, and found in John a worthy opponent. Lila always looked sharp. She was meticulous in her grooming, insistent that her hair be always in place, her makeup applied just right, and the dress that she was wearing clean and stylish. Even when she went to the market, she had to look her best. Not surprisingly, she was a fastidious housekeeper as well. She liked everything in white, so she could see precisely what needed cleaning. She took great pride in having a beautiful home. The grandchildren shared with me that when each of them moved into their new apartments, their grandmother would be there with not one but 2 vacuum cleaners to help clean the apartment and get it ready. She'd go and clean the windows, inside and outside. She'd show up with her trunk of all kinds of cleaning supplies, ready to put a little shine and sparkle into their new dwelling places. She was endlessly industrious. For a while, she dabbled in residential real estate. For a while, too, she studied to be a medical coder for Billings. She never actually became a coder, but boy, did she make a lot of friends going to the class. She volunteered at St. Luke Hospital for many years, an expression of her great empathy for those who were hurting and needing a loving heart and hand. She was in every way a people person, at ease talking with anyone, someone who knew how to initiate a conversation and then ask the kinds of questions that kept people engaged. When you became a friend of Lila's, you had Lila as a friend for life. She had her own calendar in which she kept everyone's special dates. She sent cards out regularly to wish all the special people in her life a happy birthday. Often a hand-delivered cake would not be far behind. These same friends, in turn, rallied to be with her and to care for her as she struggled with cancer the last months of her life. They came and visited with her, held her hand, kissed her, and loved her. When her friends arrived, they would find her children there, watching over their mother and giving her the love and respect they felt so deeply she richly deserved. At the end of her life, as the end of her life drew near, Lila developed a special relationship with Michael's fiancée, Elizabeth. And Lila told Elizabeth that she would be honored to have Elizabeth wear her wedding dress, just as Laurie and Nancy had done. Lila lived a life of high energy and great passion. And today we are grateful for God for that life and all it entailed. Zichrona livracha. May her memory ever be for a blessing. Amen. I'm going to ask Michael if he'd like to say a few words.
As the youngest of 3 children and only son, I believe I knew my mother, Lila Shulak, in a very unique way. Of course, she was my mother, but this fact alone is not the only thing that sets her apart from everyone else I've ever known. So I'd like to share with you just a couple of things that made her very special to me. I want to begin by saying how great of a teacher Mom was. She often didn't teach in the traditional sense by sitting down and explaining things to me. Instead, Mom usually taught me many of the well-developed skills for living life by example, by doing things over and over and over again. Of course, by the time I came along, she had already perfected the art of raising kids. Seriously, I think the determination she possessed in getting things done was proven to be second to none. You see, when Mom had an idea in her mind, it would often become her passion. I can barely remember an instance when Mom set out to accomplish whatever it was that became important to her, that she ultimately didn't end up with results that were completely satisfactory to her, and certainly way beyond anyone else. But for this to happen, she would spare no amount of effort. And this leads to a second golden quality of hers that had such an impact on me. Working hard. Mom spent hours toiling in the rose gardens we had in the front and backyards of our house, often into the darkness of night, pulling weeds, pruning the bushes and flowers, fertilizing and laying down mulch, so everyone who came to our home could enjoy the beauty of those gardens and sweet fragrance of freshly cut roses. As Rabbi Rosen noted, appearance was important to my mom, and she paid a lot of attention to details. She taught me that doing my best and looking my best was a combination that would bring pleasure to others as well as myself. In fact, I'm inclined to say that whenever my mom did something, especially for others, she put just as much emphasis, if not more, on the presentation. The cakes and other sweets my mom baked were certainly delicious, but the manner in which she decorated them, boxed them, labeled them, and wrapped them in ribbons and bows let you know that the contents inside were something special. Finally, Mom taught me how to appreciate the finer things in life, how to love and care for family, make friends and nurture long-lasting friendships, and to have compassion and express kindness to the sick, needy, and less fortunate. I've known for some time that the days of living my life without Mom would probably arrive sooner rather than later. As I began writing this morning, I noticed I was feeling kind of numb, some sadness and pain, but mostly just emptiness from her loss. Mom, I don't have all the words right now to say everything I'd like to say, but I'd like you to know that I appreciate all the things you did for me and many sacrifices you made to make my life better. I'll always love you, and I already miss you very much. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak these words. Amen.
I'm now going to invite everyone to please stand for the memorial prayer. El Malay Rachamim Shochain Bamromin Hametsemenu Chanechana Tachat Tenfei HaShechina B'ma'alot Kiroshinu Taharim Kizahar Akira Masirin Et Nishmat Leah Bat Yitzchak Begittin Shehalachal Olama B'gan Eden Tehemenu Chata Ana Ba'ala Rachamim Hasti Reha B'seita Kenafecha La'olamim Utzor B'tzor HaChayim Et Nishmata Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al-mishkava v'nomar amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of our beloved Lila Shulak, who has gone now to her eternal home. Dear God, we ask you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds this good woman performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal, and may she ever rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. I now invite the mourning family to join with me as together we recite the mourner's cottage for the first time in loving memory of our beloved Lila. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divarach elutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayerecho beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'izman karib v'imeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei al-maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei degudusha b'richu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushkachata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru amen. Yehei shalama Rabbah minu shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'momav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Be seated. Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun. The Lord our God is a compassionate God. He understands our pain and He shares our sorrow. The dust returns to the earth from which it came, but the spirit goes back to God who gave it. What we put away are only the earthly material remains of the one we loved and cherished. What has been most precious to us never dies, but continues to bless and inspire us along the paths of life we tread. Their good name is a crown that never fades. Their good life is a priceless memory to all their dear ones and to all of us. Receive in mercy and loving kindness, O Lord, the soul of our beloved Lila Shulak. Grant her that everlasting peace and bliss which are our portion in the world to come. May we all be given the strength, the courage, and the faith to be worthy of life and of the memory of those we love. Amen. My friends, following our service, the family will be returning to Nancy and Bill's home at 5331 Rutherglen, where a Shiva meeting will take place tonight at 6 o'clock. And your presence at that memorial service will be most welcome and appreciated. We come now to the last thing we can do for Lila, and that is to see that she's properly covered and laid to rest. This is a difficult thing for any family to do, but it is the conviction of our faith that we who loved her should be the ones who place the first handfuls of earth upon the grave. And after the family has done so, that everyone else who is here who would like to have this honor will be welcome to do so as well. And this will conclude our service here this afternoon.